Finally, the WNBA and its owners have sent a proposal to the union. After 6 weeks of seeing Nneka Ogwumike show up on the caller ID and just letting the phone ring, after 6 weeks of receiving text messages from the...
Okay, so after 6 weeks of complete radio silence, the WNBA ownership group just dropped a bombshell that changes everything. Picture this: the players' union has been trying to get these owners to respond to their proposals for over a month. Complete ghosting situation. Radio silent. Then suddenly today we get word that not only did the owners finally respond, they came back with an offer that nobody saw coming. We're looking at maximum player salaries potentially hitting $1.3 million by next season. Think about that for a second. Current max salary sits at $249,000. That's not just an increase, that's a complete transformation of what it means to be a professional women's basketball player.
The league's previous offer last month would guarantee a maximum salary of $1 million in 2026. That could reach $1.3 through revenue sharing. That's up from the current $249,000 and could grow to nearly $2 million over the life of the agreement.
But here is the twist.
This is what happens when someone like Caitlin Clark completely reshapes the economics of an entire sport. The money that poured into this league during her rookie year wasn't theoretical. It was real television revenue, real ticket sales, real merchandise numbers. Now the owners are essentially saying, okay, we see what this league can become and we're ready to pay for it. But here's where things get complicated and potentially very messy.
Outlets. The slides also outlined 37 areas where the league was willing to make concessions that players wanted. Some of these proposals included adding 2 developmental player slots to teams, giving pregnant players the right to refuse trades, which I think
You have to analyze.
The owners didn't just throw money at the salary problem. According to what's being reported, they addressed 37 different areas where players had been demanding changes. 37 separate concessions. We're talking charter flights, written into the contract, so no more commercial airline nightmares. First-class accommodations across the board. Modern pregnancy protections that actually make sense for female athletes. Better hotels, upgraded training facilities, comprehensive medical coverage. Basically, they looked at every complaint players have been voicing on social media for years and said, fine, you got it.
League and union were not close on key issues, such as revenue sharing in their effort to strike a new CBA. We get it, revenue sharing, we get it. If that's the only key issue, well, just say that's the only key issue, not few key issues.
So if the offer includes everything the players wanted, plus salaries that quintuple overnight, why isn't this deal already signed? Why are we still talking about potential work stoppages? Because there's one specific issue that's become a deal breaker, and it's all about revenue sharing mathematics. The union leadership wants 30% of gross revenue right off the top. The league is offering 70% of net revenue after expenses. It sounds technical, but this difference could literally shut down the entire season. Think about the psychology happening here. For weeks, the union was practically begging for any response from ownership. They were showing up to meetings, leaking to reporters that they were being ignored, building public pressure. Now they finally have a response, and instead of celebrating these massive victories, instead of taking the charter flights and million-dollar contracts and running to the bank, they're saying it's still not enough. The disconnect between union leadership and the business reality is becoming impossible to ignore. Here's what makes this situation even more frustrating. Casual fans, the millions of people who discovered women's basketball through Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, they look at $1.3 million salary potential and think, take the deal immediately. They see charter flights replacing commercial nightmares and think this is exactly what you asked for. But the union leadership seems so locked into old grievances and perhaps personal ego that they can't recognize victory when it's staring them directly in the face. The owners basically said, here's the lifestyle upgrade you demanded. Here's the financial respect you deserved. Now let's play basketball and create something special together. The union's response has been no. We need to audit your accounting methods first. We want to examine your books before we agree to anything. It's like someone offering you a mansion and you demanding to inspect their tax returns before accepting the keys. Meanwhile, the collateral damage from the standoff is already destroying opportunities across the league. The expansion drafts for Toronto and Portland have been pushed back indefinitely. 2 new markets ready to embrace women's basketball, ready to buy season tickets and merchandise, completely frozen because negotiators can't agree on spreadsheet formulas. Free agency is completely stalled with 80% of players essentially unemployed and waiting. Every single day this drags on, players are losing money, losing marketing opportunities, losing the ability to plan their careers and their lives. Most critically, they're wasting the momentum that Caitlin Clark created. If the season gets delayed, if we miss games in May, those casual fans will disappear. They'll go watch NBA playoffs or baseball season. The WNBA has this incredible but fragile window of mainstream attention, and union leadership seems determined to slam it shut in the name of negotiating principles. There's also this theory floating around that union leaders think Unrivaled or Athletes Unlimited can serve as backup options if the WNBA strikes. This thinking is completely delusional. Unrivaled is 3-on-3 basketball with extremely limited roster spots. It cannot support 144 professional players. It cannot replace the infrastructure, the history, the massive television contracts of the WNBA. Thinking that playing in some warehouse in Miami equals playing sold-out games at Madison Square Garden on national television shows. How out of touch the leadership has become. They're potentially leading players off a cliff because they're more interested in their legacy as activists than the financial reality facing their members. The WNBA remains the only platform that matters on a global scale. It's the only league that creates household names and builds lasting careers. Gambling away that platform for a slightly better revenue sharing formula is absolutely reckless. What makes this even more revealing is that the 1.3 million salary figure comes through revenue sharing incentives. Players have to help grow the business to maximize their earnings. Who drives that growth? Caitlin Clark and players like her. By rejecting this proposal, the union is essentially betting against Caitlin Clark's impact. They're saying we don't trust that revenue will materialize, so we want guaranteed money up front regardless of performance. It shows complete lack of faith in the product they're trying to sell. If they truly believed in the Caitlin Clark effect, they would embrace the net revenue split, knowing that profits will be astronomical because ratings will double again next season. Instead, they're operating from fear. Fear that the bubble might burst, so they want cash immediately, rather than building something sustainable. It's scarcity mindset during a time of abundance. This proposal represents ownership, calling the union's bluff in a very public way. They put a historic offer on the table, then leaked it to control the narrative. Now everyone's watching to see how union leadership responds. If they reject charter flights and million-dollar contracts while leading players into a strike over accounting methods, they'll lose public support instantly. Fans want to see Caitlin Clark play basketball. They don't care about gross versus net revenue calculation. They care about amazing games and compelling rivalries. Ownership understands this dynamic perfectly. They've weaponized their offer by showing the world, look, we tried to be generous. We offered them millions. They said no. It's masterful negotiation strategy, and right now the union looks like the villain in their own story. The timeline makes this even more concerning. Previous agreements took a full month to ratify after initial approval. We're in February, with the season starting in May. If this deal doesn't get signed within the next week or two, we're mathematically guaranteed to miss the season opener, rookie drafts, free agency periods, training camps. All of that requires significant lead time. You cannot just snap your fingers and launch a professional sports league. The logistics are incredibly complex. By continuing to delay, the union is guaranteeing either a chaotic season start at best or complete cancellation at worst. Who gets hurt most by a canceled season? Not the owners, who are billionaires with diversified investments. The players get destroyed. Most WNBA athletes live paycheck to paycheck compared to other professional sports. A work stoppage eliminates their income, destroys their momentum, damages their personal brands. The proposal also includes expanded rights for pregnant players, including the ability to refuse trades. This represents a massive victory for player empowerment and shows the league finally modernizing its approach to women's health and family planning. But this significant win is being completely overshadowed by the revenue-sharing battle. It feels like union leadership is so accustomed to fighting, so used to being underdogs, that they don't know how to accept victory. They're snatching defeat from the jaws of triumph. They've achieved 90% of their stated goals, but they're willing to burn everything down for the final 10%. If they maintain their position on gross revenue demands, we're heading straight toward a lockout. A lockout in the year that was supposed to be Caitlin Clark's breakout season would represent the biggest fumble in sports history. Complete tragedy. Imagine having the Michael Jordan of women's basketball in her prime, ready to launch the sport into the stratosphere, and shutting down operations because you couldn't agree on accounting principles. Fans will never forgive that decision. Sponsors will walk away permanently. Television partners will be furious about lost programming. The stakes could not be higher. Ownership made their move and put serious money on the table. Now the entire sports world is watching to see whether players have the wisdom to accept this victory, or if pride will destroy the greatest opportunity women's basketball has ever seen. The clock keeps ticking, fans are waiting for answers, and the future of an entire sport hangs in the balance. May approaches rapidly, and right now nobody knows if the lights will even be on.